March 14th, 2026, 11:34 p.m. Beijing time. Inside the People's Liberation Army Strategic Support Force headquarters, a room exists that most of the world doesn't know about. Wall-to-wall screens, 18 feet high, 47 feet wide, displaying real-time satellite imagery, signal intercepts, missile trajectories, and strike patterns from a war happening 3,000 miles away. The war America is fighting against Iran. And every single data point, every tactical decision, every weapon system deployment is being recorded, analyzed, and filed away for future use. I learned about this room from a former Defense Intelligence Agency analyst who saw the satellite photos. He called me at 2 a.m, voice shaking, and said 6 words I'll never forget. Robert, they're watching everything we do. China isn't fighting this war. They don't need to. They're doing something far more valuable. They're getting a free, comprehensive, real-time intelligence briefing on exactly how the American military fights a near-peer adversary in 2026. And when the time comes, when Beijing makes its move on Taiwan, they'll know every weakness, every pattern, every limitation in our playbook, because we just showed them. Let me take you inside what's actually happening, because this is the story nobody in Washington wants to talk about. While Trump celebrates missile strikes and claims victory over Iran, China is conducting the most sophisticated intelligence operation in modern history without spending a dollar or risking a single soldier. They're just watching and learning and preparing. February 28th, Operation Epic Fury begins. The United States launches massive air and missile strikes against Iranian nuclear facilities, command centers, and military infrastructure. It's the most significant American military operation since the Iraq invasion. Precision weapons, stealth aircraft, coordinated strikes across multiple target sets, the kind of operation that reveals exactly how American forces plan, coordinate, and execute complex attacks. Within 6 hours, Chinese intelligence satellites repositioned over the Persian Gulf, not 1 or 2, 7. The entire Yaogan synthetic aperture radar constellation, plus 3 Gaofen optical reconnaissance satellites. They're not just watching the explosions. They're measuring signal patterns from American ships, tracking flight paths of stealth aircraft, analyzing the timing sequences of coordinated strikes, recording everything. Here's what most people don't understand about modern warfare. It's not just about who wins the battle, it's about what you learn while fighting it. Every time an American F-35 penetrates Iranian air defenses, Chinese engineers are studying the radar cross-section, the approach vectors, the electronic warfare signatures. Every time a Tomahawk cruise missile hits a target, they're analyzing flight profiles, GPS jamming resistance, and terminal guidance patterns. Every time an Arleigh Burke-class destroyer positions itself in the Gulf, they're mapping its sensor range, communications protocols, and defensive posture. This is intelligence you cannot buy, cannot steal, cannot simulate. This is real-world operational data on how the American military actually fights when the stakes are real and the weapons are live. And China is recording every second of it. A senior analyst at RAND Corporation, who I've known for 20 years, sent me an encrypted message 3 days into the conflict. The PLA is building a digital twin of our entire operational doctrine. When they move on Taiwan, they'll know our playbook better than us and some of our manuma. Osomanen kom dem and din dies. That assessment isn't speculation. It's based on intercepts of Chinese military communications showing explicit references to Iran's scenario analysis in planning documents for Pacific contingencies. But the intelligence gathering is only half the story. The other half is what China is doing while America is distracted. Because every carrier group we have in the Middle East is a carrier group that's not in the Pacific. Every munition we expend on Iran is a munition we can't use to defend Taiwan. Every diplomatic crisis we create with allies over this war is a crack in the alliance system that's supposed to deter Chinese aggression. Let me show you the math. The United States Navy currently has 11 aircraft carriers. As of this morning, 3 are in the Persian Gulf or Arabian Sea, supporting operations against Iran. 1 is in maintenance, 1 is in transit. That leaves 6 available for global deployment. China knows this. They're watching the deployments in real time through commercial satellite imagery that anyone can purchase. They know exactly how thin we're stretched. The Air Force has deployed significant tanker and bomber assets to the region. B-2 stealth bombers flew missions from Diego Garcia. KC-135 tankers are running continuous refueling operations. F-22 and F-35 squadrons forward deployed to Gulf bases. Every one of those aircraft represents capability that's now tied down in the Middle East, instead of being available for Indo-Pacific contingencies. And here's where it gets truly dangerous. US munition stockpiles are being depleted at alarming rates. We've fired over 2,000 precision-guided missiles in 2 weeks. Tomahawks, JASSMs, LRASMs, the expensive weapons that take months to manufacture and can't be quickly replaced. The Pentagon has been warning about this for years. We don't have the industrial capacity to sustain high-intensity combat operations for extended periods. China has been building that capacity deliberately. We're using up our magazines while they're expanding theirs. But the most brilliant part of China's strategy isn't military, it's economic. While America is trying to force allies to send warships to the Strait of Hormuz, China is negotiating directly with Iran for guaranteed oil access, not as a favor, as a business arrangement. Iran needs customers. China needs oil. They struck a deal, simple, effective, and it completely bypasses American sanctions and pressure. The details of the deal leaked through Turkish intelligence sources. China guarantees to purchase 1.2 million barrels per day of Iranian crude at market prices, paid in yuan through Chinese banks that are already sanctioned and therefore don't care about additional US pressure. In exchange, Iran guarantees safe passage through the Strait of Hormuz for Chinese-flagged tankers and any vessels carrying Chinese cargo. And the arrangement is already operational. Pakistani tankers carrying oil to China transited safely on March 16th. Indian vessels under Chinese charter got clearance. Turkish ships with Chinese goods passed through without incident. Think about what this means. America is spending billions of dollars fighting a war that's supposed to punish Iran and demonstrate strength. China is spending $0 and getting guaranteed energy access, while the global oil price spike makes every barrel they import under this arrangement worth more. We're destroying our reserves, trying to stabilize prices. They're locking in supply at negotiated rates and building strategic reserves while oil is expensive but guaranteed. And it's not just China making these deals. Japan, which is supposed to be one of our closest allies, has quietly opened back-channel talks with Iran about similar arrangements. South Korea is exploring options. Even European nations that publicly refuse to join American convoy operations are privately negotiating transit rights through Iranian-controlled waters. Every one of these deals is a country choosing to work with Iran instead of confronting Iran. Everyone is a small surrender of American influence. The diplomatic cascade is already visible. France's Macron referenced potential future cooperation when circumstances permit. Germany demanded to be informed and included rather than asked to help. The UK said this isn't a NATO mission. These aren't just refusals to support American military operations. They're statements that America's wars are America's problems and everyone else is going to manage their interests separately. China is watching this too, watching America's closest allies publicly reject requests for help, watching NATO fray, watching the alliance system that's supposed to deter Chinese aggression show its cracks in real time. And they're taking notes, because when they make their move on Taiwan, they now know exactly which countries will actually stand with the United States and which ones will negotiate separate arrangements to protect their interests. Here's what keeps me awake at night. I spent years studying how great powers lose their position. It's never one catastrophic defeat. It's always a series of incremental choices that reveal you're no longer essential, that alternatives exist, that other powers can provide what you use to monopolize. For 75 years, America's core value proposition to allies was security and access. We provide military protection. We guarantee freedom of navigation. We anchor the global economic system. In exchange, you align with us on strategic issues. That deal is breaking down in real time. China is offering a different arrangement. We won't protect you, but we won't threaten you either if you stay neutral. We'll trade with you regardless of ideology. We'll negotiate access to resources through deals instead of force. For a lot of countries, especially in Asia and the Middle East, that's starting to look more reliable than the American model, because the American model now involves getting dragged into wars you didn't ask for, suffering economic consequences from conflicts that don't threaten you, and dealing with an unpredictable partner who insults you when you don't immediately comply. The intelligence China is gathering isn't just tactical, it's strategic. They're learning that America will start wars without sufficient planning, without allied support, without clear exit strategies. They're learning that we'll drain our strategic reserves to fight wars we can't win. They're learning that our alliance system is fragile and transactional rather than resilient and values-based. They're learning that if you can impose economic costs without direct military confrontation, America will eventually exhaust itself. And they're preparing to use all of this against us. Taiwan is watching this war very carefully. They see America struggling to keep the Strait of Hormuz open. They know the Strait of Taiwan is narrower, closer to Chinese mainland, easier to blockade. They see American munition stockpiles depleting. They see allies refusing to help. They're asking themselves a very reasonable question. If America can't keep a strait open against Iran, how will they keep Taiwan supplied against China? That's not defeatism. That's rational analysis. And it's the same analysis happening in Tokyo, Seoul, Manila, and every other capital that depends on American security guarantees in the Pacific. The confidence is eroding, not because we lost a battle, but because we're revealing our limitations in real time while China builds a comprehensive intelligence picture of exactly how to exploit them. March 14th, 2026, somewhere in Beijing, analysts are reviewing footage of American operations, updating probability models for Pacific scenarios, and briefing senior leadership on what they've learned. They didn't fire a shot, didn't lose a soldier, didn't spend their reserves. They just watched America fight a war that's making China stronger. That's not victory for us. That's a masterclass in strategic patience. And when the real test comes, when Beijing decides the moment is right to move on Taiwan, they'll have spent 2 years watching us exhaust ourselves in the Middle East while they prepared for the war that actually matters. We'll be out of munitions, out of reserves, out of allied support, and out of time. China didn't fight this war, they just watched. And in watching, they won.